So I don't harp on issues of racism in Korea because I don't experience them, thankfully. That might largely be because I'm white. White people are supposedly getting better treatment in Korea than people of other ethnicities or people with different skin color. Because I'm white, this isn't something I have directly experienced, but the other night I was having dinner with 3 friends, all American, all from California, all fluent English speakers, but one is Filipino American and 2 are Chinese American. They have not had a good time of trying to get jobs here. Because of that, one of them will be leaving and 2 of them have considered leaving. It bothers me enough to make this video because it's actually driving them out of Korea. The friend who's leaving, he's been looking for a job for months, if not longer than that. He was a student first and then he's just been on a series of tourist visas. He's Chinese American, so he looks Asian. Despite the fact that he can speak fluent English, that's not good enough. And so he's giving up and going back. It's ridiculous, not for him, but because they won't give him a chance just because he doesn't look like a native English speaker according to what Koreans might expect. Another friend is working as an English teacher now, but he had been applying for a few months. He was applying while he was back home in California and people wouldn't go for him. They'd do Skype interviews and they'd find out, guess what? He's not white. As a Filipino American, his skin is brown. He's as fluent as anyone else, and he's taught here before for a few years, but that didn't matter. Well, he did get a job finally. It's not in Seoul, which is disappointing to me because I can't hang out with him as much, but his search for a job was much harder than it had any right to be. The other guy, he's looking for a job now. He doesn't have one. He worked at a university for like 4.5 years. He quit of his own volition, but people are still giving him a hard time. He had an interview. They said, you've been the best person we've interviewed, but you know, you're not white. He said the first time he was offended, and then after 4 or 5 times of getting the exact same excuse, he started to respond sort of sarcastically like, oh, wow, you're right, I'm not white. And good for him for having that attitude. But in the US, if you are rejected from a job, discriminated against because of your skin color, because of your ethnicity, the employer can get sued. The employer can get in major trouble. That's not the case in Korea. It's not that the employers are saying you're not qualified, because in this third friend's example, he was told at so many interviews that he does such great interviews, that he did the best job. He prepared presentations and all this material, and they were really impressed. Partly it's because of the students. The students will be looking at the teacher, and I guess the students have these outdated racist expectations, like they need to see a white teacher matches their expectations of what a teacher, an English-speaking teacher, should look like. And then there's also, if you're teaching kids, it's about the parents, because in many hagwons, like, there's a day where the parents come in to observe the teacher teaching. The teacher has to meet the parents' racist expectations about what an English-speaking teacher should look like. It's not necessarily the employers want to discriminate. They may recognize what a good teacher actually is, but they have to match what their students want. Hagwons and stuff like that are at the whims of the students and the parents of the students. But that's also based on, you know, the outdated racist expectations of students and or their parents. Rejecting someone based on their skin color is wrong, 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 wrong. But the people who are doing the rejecting are not necessarily the ones who have those racist sentiments. They are wrong for doing that rejecting, but they're not necessarily wrong because they're not the ones holding those expectations themselves. Now, I do want to throw a little nuance here. So I have a meetup group, a language exchange meetup group that is held every Thursday night. Maybe 60 to 80% of the people who attend are Korean. Koreans want to go there to practice speaking English. So if a Korean person shows up, they're gonna look for people who look like they speak English, which may be white people, black people, anyone who looks non-Asian. Because Koreans often can't, like, if someone's Japanese or Chinese, they might not know. I've heard Koreans tell Japanese people that they look Korean, and I've heard Koreans tell other Koreans that they look Japanese or Chinese. And also at first glance, you can't tell if a Korean is a Korean American or Korean Canadian who speaks fluent English. If you have to judge at a first glance, maybe it'd be easier to walk up to a white person and be like, you must be a fluent English speaker, which isn't necessarily true, you know, they could be German or Spanish Spanish or Italian or whatever. But I guess the chances of a white person in Korea speaking English are better than the chances of an Asian looking person in Korea speaking English. It's a weird concept, and it's weird for me too. And I think maybe the worst thing someone can do is make an assumption that may be offensive or wrong or whatever. But at the same time, let's say your goal is to speak English with someone, you kind of have to make certain assumptions in order to get the result that you want. So at our group, if they have one complaint, their complaint's always like, oh, I wish there were more English speakers at the group. And what they kind of mean is they want more non-Asian looking people in the group, because then they can identify them as English speakers. That is not necessarily wrong, because I understand how tough it would be to show up, you look at this group and it's almost all Asian looking people, and it's not unreasonable to assume that most of them are Korean because we're in Korea. It's a weighty subject about what skin color actually means. It looks like white people more often than any other non-Korean ethnicity go on TV and media when the Korean media wants to show a foreigner in Korea. Statistically, they should be choosing Chinese people. There's that show, was it 비정상 회담? The one that has the group of foreigners who speak Korean fluently. Most of the people on that show are white. It doesn't make sense that they so consistently shun other Asian non-Korean people when they are very often capable, fluent in English, or, you know, whatever the case may be, fluent in Korean in many cases. As one white person in Korea, I don't know what I can do to affect this, but I think we should be talking about it and being like, why is this acceptable? Why do people have these unrealistic expectations about what an English speaker should look like? Why is that still important to people in 2015?